everybody. Good night. Thank you for joining us. I think you're going to be really excited with what I have to share tonight. I hope you're all doing well. We're on our fourth part of our 6 essential strategies for all note buyers. And I will tell you that this is not the most fun part to go through this, but it is the essential part. If you want to do notes yourself, then you want to learn this stuff so that you'll be able to close deals on your own. But I do want to preface this with, if you don't like this kind of stuff, then just use me as your coach. Sign up for the coaching and I do the whole thing for you and we still split profits. Okay, but I've had a lot of requests for this information, so I think you're going to be very happy with it. So we already covered, first how to find notes. And then we covered, let me get us going here. We covered how to evaluate the note and decide if we wanted to buy it or not. And then we covered how to make an offer, and we got the note under contract, okay? And so now the next step is the due diligence. And due diligence simply means we're going to verify everything that your evaluation came up with. Everything that was in the evaluation, you want to make sure that it was accurate. If you based your quote on it being a $100,000 property, you want to know that it's worth $100,000. If you based it believing that they had a perfect pay history, you don't want to find out that they're 3 months behind. So I'm gonna take you through the steps and we'll just do a walkthrough. We're gonna continue using the same example that I used the last time, the Sally Seller and Ivan Investor, okay? So if you're watching in sequence, all 6 strategies, you'll be able to follow right along. So for right now, let's go ahead and do the due diligence here. First of all, I don't start any due diligence until after I get a signed note purchase agreement. Okay, so we will have prepared our offer. Once they accept it, I send out the note purchase agreement, they sign it and send it back. And I will have already received a copy of the note at least, as well as probably some other documents as well. So I make sure that I have a signed note purchase agreement. And then the first thing I want to look at then would be the note itself. And let me tell you, I don't know what's going on, but lately have I seen some doozies. I mean, just in the last week, I've seen, 2 weeks, let's say, I've seen 2 notes that don't even tell where to make the payments to. How can you make a payment if you don't know where to send it? I'm not kidding. About a month ago, I had one that didn't even give the payment amount. I'm not kidding you. And so it's just common sense. It's an IOU and it says, I'm going to pay you $100,000 over the next 20 years and I will pay you $500 and some a month and I will make my payments to this place. And you want to make sure that the borrower's name is correct and you want to make sure that your name and address is correct. And so it's at the Academy, we'll go through all the minute details. But the important thing is if you read a note and just use common sense, it should make sense to you and it should flow. The most important, well, not the most important thing, but one of the important things that I like to check on is where it says the interest rate. It says 7% per annum compounded monthly. And you want to make sure that it is compounded monthly, okay? Because that's a lot more money than if it's just 7% per annum. That means simple interest, okay? So I always check to make sure the compounded monthly is on there. I'll tell you, last week I had a note, and this was prepared by an attorney, and it had 7% per month. Can you imagine? Can you imagine, Matthew, a note 7% per month? So anyway, you need to go through the note and make sure that everything is accurate on the note. Then you want to look at the mortgage or the deed of trust. And of course, that's what gives you security for the note. The note's the promise to pay, and the mortgage or deed of trust is what allows you, if they don't pay, it allows you to foreclose and take the property and sell it if you need to in order to get your cash back. So what you want to do then is make sure that the mortgage and the deed of trust or the deed of trust reference back to the note. And so the same parties should be listed. The person that's granting the mortgage, it needs to be the person who is on title to that property. I am the only one who can grant a mortgage on my house. You can't grant it, okay? So you need to make sure that whoever's granting that deed of trust or the lien on the property, the beneficiary of the deed of trust, it actually is. You want to make sure that they are the owner of the property, okay? And then I want to take a look at the settlement statement. Now, the settlement statement, I always require that. And the reason is a couple things. That's your official document that you use to give to your accountant to prepare your tax returns. And so it's generally prepared by a title company, but not always. And so I can check the parties. A big thing is I can see the down payment. So if they tell me they put $50,000 down, I can look at the settlement statement. And if there's not a $50,000 down payment showing, then I know we got a problem. Okay. And the other big thing that I look for on the settlement statement is I want to know if they purchased a lender's title policy. Okay. Because if they did, that saves me a lot of money because I can get an endorsement of it instead of having to order all new title. Okay. And then last but not least, the other thing that I want off the settlement statement is I want to find out who closed it. Because usually I go back to that same attorney or the same title company and I use them to handle the closing of my purchase of the note. And the reason that I do that is it goes quicker because they don't need, they've generally already done the title, so they just need to do a brief update of it. And it's less expensive because they've already done a lot of the legwork on it. Okay, so the settlement statement, a lot of people don't realize how valuable that is to have. And I just mentioned the lender's title policy. So if the note seller actually got a lender's title policy, I love if they will give it to me. And if they've done a good job of keeping all their paperwork together, they will send that over with the note purchase agreement. Now, sometimes you'll get a note seller that doesn't even know that they have a lender's title policy. They don't even know what a lender's title policy is. In that case, that's where that settlement statement comes in handy, okay? And the other thing is you can always get a copy of the lender's title policy by calling the title company. I did that exact thing today. I was setting up a closing, and so and it did not show on the settlement statement that they had bought a lender's title policy. But this was in Oregon, the property's in Oregon, and this title company doesn't sell the lender's policy at the time of closing. You have to make 2 or 3 payments. And so that was bought separately. And see, I wouldn't have known that if I had not contacted that title company and said, hey, I'm buying a note that you originated, and I'd like for you to handle the escrow for us. So that worked out really well. So that saves me probably about $800 or $900 because I don't have to go buy a new lender's title policy. The other thing that is very important to review is the proof of pay history. How are you going to get the proof of pay history? Well, the easiest thing is if you've made copies of the checks. That's real easy. But many people don't do that, and many of the payments are made by ACH. So the next best thing would be a copy of the note seller's bank statement, okay, showing the deposits that are made. Now, if they've got 10 properties that all pay $1,000 a month, that's not going to fly. You're not going to be able to tell. But most of the time, it's very clear that there's one number each month that matches this particular note and mortgage. So what we do is we get the last 12 months of bank statements, and that will show it. If the note is being serviced, you can also get a copy of the servicing agreement, okay, or not the servicing agreement, but the servicer statement, okay? They will give you a statement of the pay history, which I love when I can get that, okay? If all else fails and you cannot get that, for example, I just closed one a couple weeks ago. The guy paid in cash. There was no track record of it. But everything else about the note was great. It was a huge down payment. They'd made all kinds of improvements to the property, very low loan to value. I mean, it was just an awesome deal, but the guy had paid in cash, so there was no proof of pay history. So what I did was I just made up a pay history affidavit, and that's just an affidavit that the note seller signs swearing that he's received these payments on time. And then I also, let's get back down to here. I also do the mortgagee and mortgagor estoppels, okay? And those are simply affidavits that I have both the borrower and the note seller sign these affidavits. And what they're doing is they're swearing that the note was always paid on time. They've made so many payments of $800 a month. There are no offsets. The current balance is this much. And when you get both parties to agree to the balance that's owed, the interest rate, the remaining number of payments, that way, when you buy that note, you can be assured that there won't be any problems in the future. Okay. Okay, so now we have reviewed all of the documents. The next thing that we want to do is confirm that the real estate taxes are paid. Now, the real estate taxes, normally I like to check those before I even give a quote, because you don't want to waste all this time giving a quote and preparing the note purchase agreement, and then you find out that they're delinquent on their real estate taxes. Because if they're delinquent on the real estate taxes, that's a dead deal. That's a deal killer, okay? So if you haven't already done that, definitely do it right now. And the way that you check to make sure they're paid is simply go to the tax auditor's website and look it up. You can usually check by the parcel number, the address, or the homeowner's name, okay? I do like to review a credit report. Now, if you belong to a credit reporting agency, you have a legal right to pull the credit if you're going to give a quote on a note. You have a legitimate business reason. I don't know many note sellers or note buyers, at least private note buyers, that actually belong to the credit bureau anymore. I used to. But once I moved my office back home, they want to kick the bricks. They want to make sure that you have got, a separate office and that it's locked and no one's going to walk through your office and, all of that. And so what I do to get the credit report is when I do my phone call with the borrower, I simply say to them, as part of this process, I'm going to need to pull your credit. And if I pull your credit, that is going to ding your credit score by 4 points, okay? There's a much better way to do it if you don't mind. If you just go to creditkarma.com or Free Credit Report or one of those and just pull your own credit, make sure to get one that prints out the scores and just send that over to me. And then that way it does not affect your credit score. And so far, everyone that I've asked, they have all given it to me, okay? So that's a great way to get the credit report. Okay, the next thing that I need to get is a title commitment. Now, if there is a title policy in place, like we just talked about, then I don't need to order a new commitment, because that title policy, I already have it, and I'm just going to get an endorsement of it. But let's say when the note seller lent this money, he didn't get a title policy. There's no insurance out there. In that case, I need to order a new title policy. And what I'm going to ask for is a title commitment. And they will run the title and they'll send me a report that says, we will insure the title except for these things. And it will tell any liens that are on the property. Okay. And so I definitely, before I move forward with a closing, I need to see a title commitment, which will show that indeed I'm getting a first position mortgage or a first position deed of trust. Okay. So you always want to get the title commitment before you go to closing. Now, Do keep in mind that the actual title policy usually does not come until after the closing, okay? But it's the commitment that you need to review before the closing takes place. The next thing that I need to get is the appraisal. Occasionally, they will have an old appraisal, and if they do, I love if the note seller will send that over. But most of the time, I need to order a drive-by appraisal, okay? And usually you can get one for about $300. I've seen them as high as $600. If that's the case, I don't go with that. I'm not going to pay $600 for an appraisal. In that case, assuming that I can verify a good down payment and all the other things look really good about it, then I'm going to go do my own research as to the value. I will go to the tax auditor site. I will see what they say the market value of the property is, what the assessed value is. I will go online. I will compare comps of properties that have already sold in the neighborhood, and I will just verify myself what the value is. But if I can get a drive-by appraisal, which means they're not going inside the property, then I definitely like and prefer to have an appraisal in my file. Okay, the next thing is the property hazard insurance. Okay, before you close on this note or at closing, you need to make sure that you are added on as the mortgagee insured. What does that mean? That means that if the property burns down, you need to know that that check is going to be made payable to both you and the note seller. So the note seller cannot, or excuse me, not the note seller, the homeowner. The homeowner cannot run away with the money, okay? So it's very important that you make sure that there is adequate insurance. So what you're going to do is you are going to ask the borrower, and a lot of times the note seller already has this, but if they don't, when I do the phone call with the borrower, I will ask them for that. I also put a place on my affidavit where they will give me their insurance agent's name and contact information. Okay, so then I'm going to call up the insurance agent and have them send me an endorsement or a declaration page. A declaration page is where you just confirm it just states all of the different aspects of the insurance that's in place. So you'll be able to confirm the address of the property. You'll confirm the name of the homeowner. You better make sure that whoever is listed as the owner of that policy is the owner of the property, because that can affect whether you get paid or not. You want to make sure that it's insured for the full fair market value of the property. I've had people say that the property is worth $100,000, and I get the insurance declaration page and it's insured for 40. What's up with that? I tend to think that they're kind of exaggerating on the value, because if it was really worth $100,000, don't you think they'd want to be insured for $100,000? I certainly would. So you want to make sure that it's insured for the full fair market value of the property. And then I also want to look at what is the term of the policy. In other words, I don't want to just get a binder where they can pay 1 month and they can cancel after 30 days, or it automatically cancels after 30 days. I don't mind a month-to-month payment as long as I can see that that insurance has been in place for a while, okay? And there's a pattern, and they've established a pay history of keeping that insurance up to date. And by the way, if they do quit paying, the insurance companies will send you a notice that the insurance is going to be canceled for non-payment. And you can even, I mean, I wouldn't rely on that. Let me put it that way. Okay. But they do that. Okay. So we've talked about the property hazard insurance. Here is the verifying the pay history. You're going to get the copies of the checks. We already covered this, the postmarked envelopes, bank statements, a report from the servicing company, or a pay history affidavit. Okay. So now we have, we're moving down our list. We've completed the pay history. Normally, when you are purchasing a performing seller carryback note, it's going to be a first mortgage. It's only in California, New York, places where the property values are so high that it is very common to have second and third mortgages on the properties. But for the most part, unless you're buying in a very expensive area like that, then you're going to be dealing with first mortgages only. But if you happen to be buying a second deed of trust in California, then part of your due diligence should be to verify the senior lien balance, okay? And I mentioned that I also get the mortgagor and the mortgagee affidavit. And that's simply an affidavit that I prepare. And I take the numbers off of the note. I figure the pay history, what the note seller has given me. I prepare the two of these. I have both parties sign it. And that way I know that we're all on the same page. And several years down the road, when they go to pay off, then the borrower is not going to say, hey, wait a minute, the note seller said I get a $10,000 credit if I make payments on time. Nope, if it's not written in that affidavit, that's not going to happen. Okay. And then the last thing that I do is the payor investor conference call. I like to get on the phone with the borrower, and I want to introduce them to my investor. Okay. Now, sometimes I make two calls to the payor. Sometimes I call them ahead of time when I'm really smack dab in the middle of the due diligence. And that's if I need to get information from them, like the credit report or the insurance. Other times, if I'm able, like let's say the note seller already has a credit report and he has a copy of the insurance. In that case, I wait until just before I'm ready to close, and then I set up a conference call with my end buyer and the borrower. And I introduce the two of them so that I know that they know each other and they're off on good footing. Okay. So this completes our due diligence. And basically, you just use the deal checklist that's in the Note Buyer's Master Guide. And you just go down one item at a time, make sure you've got everything that you need, and you're good to go. So it is a simple process if you have the checklist. I would hate to have to remember all this stuff. I'm sure I could, but I've done so many deals. But I don't like to worry about that I forget something. So I really highly recommend that you use the Note Buyer's Deal Checklist, which you will find in your Note Buyer's Master Guide. So once you have completed the due diligence, then you're ready to prepare for your closing, okay? So with the closing, if you're selling the note to an institutional buyer, they will handle the closing, okay? So if you are brand new to doing notes and you're not one of my students, what I would recommend is that you sell to an institution, because then all you have to do is find the deal. You send the information to them. They tell you what they'll pay. You deduct $5,000, $10,000, whatever you want to make, and you requote to the note seller. Okay. So that's a good way to handle it if you're just starting out. A better way to handle it is to get your Note Buyer's Master Guide with the Easy as 1, 2, 3 coaching. That is an awesome way for you to learn and to close deals at the same time. Okay. And so basically you find the deal, you fill out the submission form, you send it over to me. And at that point, I walk you through the entire transaction. Okay. And I do all of this stuff for you. And I shoot you emails and copies of everything so that you can see how it's done. You go through a couple deals with me like that, and you'll be doing it on your own in no time at all. Okay. And by the way, when we do the Easy as 1, 2, 3 deals, we use my investors and we split the profits. Okay. So it's a great way to learn and make money at the same time. But let's say you're going to sell the note to a private investor. Okay. So if you are doing this on your own, you're going to need to coordinate 2 closings, but they're going to be done simultaneously. The first closing is the note seller selling the note to you. The second closing is you selling the note to the private investor. Okay. So this is how it works. It's called a simultaneous close. Sometimes it's called a double close. And this is where you close two transactions at the same time, and you use the proceeds from the second transaction to fund the first. Okay. Now, before I go on and show you the example, you might be thinking, wait a minute, Donna, don't you know that you can't do a simultaneous close when you're flipping a property? That is true. I used to own a title company, and you cannot do that anymore. It's not illegal. It's just the title companies won't insure it because they're tired of getting lawsuits for fraud and all kinds of other stuff. Okay, they're tired of being pulled into the scams. However, are we flipping a house? No, we're flipping the note. And the beauty of that is it's a completely different thing. Okay, so when you flip a note, you can, in fact, do a simultaneous close. So this is just another reason why notes are so much better than properties, especially if you're just starting out with none of your own money and you're trying to figure out how to use other people's money. My goodness, do a note. It's so much easier. Do a simultaneous close, use an investor's money, make $50,000 on your deal. Now you got $50,000. If you want to buy a property, go buy the property cash. I mean, not that I would necessarily do that, but my point is you can use the notes to make the money that you need and then just expand from there. Okay. Okay. So here is a good example of the simultaneous close. Now, again, this is that same deal that we were talking about in part 3, where we talked about making the offer and doing your note purchase agreement. So we have Ivan Investor. And Ivan has wired his $95,000 into the title company. Okay, so there are 2 steps to this. First of all, we already have obviously neither one of those is her real name. For privacy's sake, I can't give you her real name. But Miss Annie, of course, she sells her note to us for $80,475. Okay, that's the first closing. You buying the note from the note seller. The second closing is you selling the note to your end buyer, your private investor. In this case, Ivan Investor. Okay, so we're going to buy it for $80,475. We're going to sell it for $95,000, and we're going to pocket the difference. Okay, now how does that work with none of your own money? Well, Ivan is going to wire his $95,000 into the title company. Your title company is then, the title company looks at this and they prepare the 2 closing settlement statements, and they realize that you're going to make $95,000 as soon as you sell this to Ivan Investor. Well, if they see that you're about to get $95,000 and the $95,000 is already sitting in their escrow account, do they need to call you up and say, hey, you better get over here with $80,475 to close this deal? They don't need your money. What they do is they take $80,475 of Ivan's money, and they go ahead and use that to close this first leg of the transaction. Okay, so they close that, and now you are the proud owner of this note. And now that you own it, now they're immediately going to close on the second leg of that. And what happens then, that's where you sell it to Ivan Investor for $95,000. And you wind up making a very nice profit of $14,250. Do you see how that works? And actually, I think my numbers might be off just a little bit there. At any rate, you're going to make about $14,000. Okay, so I apologize. I borrowed a slide from another presentation where I had rounded the numbers. Okay, so here we go. The other way, now that is one way to do the simultaneous close or to close the deal. There are 2 ways to do it. You can either do the simultaneous close or you can do the assignment of contract. with the assignment of contract, what happens here is Sally Seller, you have this, she signs a contract that she is going to sell you the note for $80,475. Okay. And you simply sell your position to Ivan Investor. Okay. And she writes you a check for $14,250. But what's the problem if she writes you a check for the profit? She now knows how much money you've made, right? Okay, and so that's why I don't normally like to do the assignment of contract. I only do that where the investor is an experienced investor that I've done lots of business with, and he knows that I'm making money on the deal and doesn't care. Okay. But in this particular case, you've had this under contract with Sally Seller. She writes you a check for whatever your profit is. Then she steps into your position and she completes the deal with Ivan Investor. Okay. So those are two different ways that you can close notes using other people's money. Why is it important to use one of these two ways? Because you need to do that so that you are a principal in the transaction. And that is so that you comply with SEC laws. Okay, you don't just want to match up a seller and an investor and have them send you a broker fee. In fact, I hate the term broker. Okay, I am not a broker. I never, ever broker a deal. I am Donna Dealer, and I buy and I sell notes and mortgages. Okay. And to do that and to make sure that my documents represent what I'm talking about, I'm always going to do a simultaneous close or an assignment of contract. Okay. Okay. So as far as what do you need for the closing components? First of all, you need a set of closing instructions. You only need one set of instructions, even though you're doing two closings. So you're going to let your title company know exactly what's going on. There's no funny business here. You simply explain that you are buying a note, and then with a separate closing, you are going to sell that note to your private investor. Okay. You will need two closing statements. The first one will be from Sally Seller to you, and the second one will be from you to Ivan Investor. You will also need two assignments. Again, the first from Sally to you, the second from you to Ivan Investor. And you'll need two note endorsements. Okay. There are two things that are required to purchase a note or mortgage and mortgage. You need an assignment of the mortgage or deed of trust, and you need an endorsement of the note. Okay. So you need a set of those for each transaction. And then you need one notice to the borrower. It's a notice of assignment. A lot of people call it the goodbye letter. And it simply says, it's signed by the note seller. I prepare it. I have the note seller sign it at closing. And it just says, dear borrower, please be advised that I have sold your note to Ivan Investor. Beginning with your August 1st payment, please make the payments payable to Ivan Investor and mail them to him at this address. Okay. So you only need one of those. Okay. And then don't forget, we already talked about this. You need the hazard insurance endorsement covering your end buyer. What does that mean? You want to make sure that your end buyer's name actually appears on the endorsement. I'll show you. We're gonna go over some of these documents here. So this is the first allonge. An allonge is an endorsement of the note, but an allonge means that it's a separate piece of paper that is permanently attached to the note. And these became very popular when people started doing the non-performing notes. Banks like to use allonges. I have come to really love allonges because if you don't use an allonge, you have to take the original note, and first you have to have Sally Seller endorse it to you, And then you have to endorse it to Ivan Investor. So that means Sally has to overnight the original to you. You have to overnight it to Ivan Investor. And it's very cumbersome when you're trying to close quickly, bam, bam, bam. And so by using the allonge, which serves the same purpose, but is simply a separate piece of paper, then both parties, I can sign my allonge, Sally Seller can sign hers in another state and take it to the title company. I overnight my document to the title company and we're good to go the next day. Okay. So the important part of this allonge, you'll notice that I always make reference to the note. I give the date of the note, the borrower's name, the lender, the original principal amount, and I always reference the address for the deed of trust or the mortgage. And then this is what actually transfers the note to, in this case, me, the original note buyer. All you have to do is just say pay to the order of the original note buyer, LLC, an Ohio limited liability company. And notice I put without recourse. What does that mean? It means that she is selling me the note and she's not guaranteeing it. Okay. If I wanted her to guarantee it, we would say with recourse. It's that simple. Okay. So that's the endorsement on Sally selling the note to you. So now notice that this is very similar. This is the endorsement for the note for you to sell it to Ivan Investor. Notice I got the same information here, but look, I added this previous endorsement. Okay. And I put from Sally Seller to the original note buyer without recourse on the 7th day of November. Okay. So I add that into this allonge and notice it's just pay to the order of Ivan Investor. Okay. So now that takes care of endorsing the note to both parties. Sally to me to Ivan. Okay. This is the assignment document. Now, the allonge or the endorsement, that gets attached to the note. The note does not get recorded. You should put that in your safe deposit box, okay? I like to make a copy and keep it in my file, but I keep my originals in my safety deposit box. This assignment is the document that gets recorded at the courthouse. It is extremely important that it get recorded because your lien position is determined by who gets to the courthouse first. So if you don't record your document and then the borrower decides, what if the borrower just gets a judgment against them? Okay. And that judgment, if it gets recorded before you record your assignment, guess what? It is in first position before you. Okay. So it's very important that you make sure that the assignments get recorded. So this is the assignment from Sally to the original note buyer. And notice it just says that she is assigning, she grants, bargains, sells, assigns, conveys, and transfers and sets over without recourse that certain note in first position deed of trust. I've got the date, the borrowers, the original amount. I've got the original terms in here. Okay. Now, you don't need to put the terms in. As long as you make a clear reference to the original amount and the date of the mortgage, that's typically good enough. And you'll find that most banknotes, they're very, very simple assignments. But I do this as a protection because this is what Sally represented to me. And I wanted of public record that she said she's assigning so many monthly payments. This is actually the original amount. This here says it gives the recording information for the actual deed of trust. Okay. Okay. This is where I say what is now owing. And I will tell you, most people don't put that in their assignment. But again, Sally is signing this, and it's going to be on public record that she is selling me a note with a balance owed of $117,521. Okay. Okay. So then the next assignment is, this is the second one, and this is the assignment from me to Ivan Investor. So The only big difference here is that notice I add this paragraph in, and all I'm doing is saying that the assigner hereof, which is me, the original note buyer, took title to this deed of trust by an assignment dated such and such. And it's the one that I just got at this same closing. So what's going to happen is you're going to fill this out and leave this blank. And you need to instruct the title company that when they go to record it, they must make sure that it gets recorded in order. Sally, to you, has that assignment needs to be recorded first. Now that you own that deed of trust, then this assignment to Ivan gets recorded. When I'm sending them myself, I always put Post-it notes on it. Record first, record second. Okay, so there's no mix-up. Okay, and so then this is a sample of the goodbye letter. Again, I prepare this. I have Sally Seller sign it. Okay. The important things to include on the notice of assignment is starting when, just to say you assigned the note, did you assign it beginning next month or 2 months from now or when? Because it does vary depending on who's buying it. You want to state who the check should be made payable to. Ivan investor, trustee of the Rosewood Trust. Where should the checks be sent? You want to give them contact information for the investor. And again, this must be signed by the note seller. If you're wanting to do the ACH deposits, you simply make those arrangements after this letter, because typically in the note, it says that the borrower agrees to make payments to such and such address or any such place as the holder hereof may designate. So in other words, you might change your address 3 or 4 times. And when you do, you just send the borrower a notice and they have to change where they send the payment to. Okay. And this is the proof of insurance that we've talked about several times now. So what happens is several days before the closing, I contact the insurance agent and I ask for a change in mortgagee insured. I don't want to do it too soon, because if something falls apart and the deal doesn't close, I don't want to have the insurance all changed, okay? So I usually wait to just a few days before the closing. And I have them send a new declaration page. Don't know if you can see this down here, but this is mortgagee number 1, and it's Ivan investor, trustee of the Rosewood Trust. Its successors and or assigns as their interest may appear, okay? And this is the critical piece. You must make sure that their name appears on there. I absolutely would not close unless it does. Would you drive a new car off of the lot without car insurance? I hope not, okay? Same with buying a property. And I had somebody challenge me on this. Well, let me tell you, many, many years ago, I had this exact thing happen. It was a Friday afternoon. They were pushing me to close. The insurance agent was gone for the weekend. It's like, what can happen on a weekend? I went ahead and closed. That weekend, we had a really bad storm. The security was a bowling alley. The roof leaked, and it did $80,000 worth of damage to the bowling alley. I called the insurance agent first thing on Monday morning. Not only was my investor not insured, the original note seller was not even insured. And so my investor had to advance the $80,000 to cover that. And eventually the investor got it back and all, but it was just a big hassle. So no, I do not close unless I have this document in hand. It's these kind of little things that keep your deals safe, okay? People who get in trouble on notes, it's because they're sloppy. That's why I have checklists. I try to dot every I and cross every T and make it as easy as I can for you, okay? Because I don't want you to drop the ball on anything. So this shows you here the policy term. You want to check and make sure that the address is correct and is the amount of insurance adequate, okay? And is your name and address correct, which we already verified. Okay, now this particular settlement statement is one that I made up. It depends on the title company that you're using. Some of them are not real familiar with buying and selling notes. And quite honestly, I love when that's the case, because I just type this up. And that way I know that it says exactly what I want it to say, okay? But otherwise, I give them this information. And sometimes I type this up more or less as a template for them to use, and they will use this and then put it into their regular form that they have as part of their closing software, okay? But the point of this here is, this is the first settlement statement from Sally seller to you. And notice, this shows the net proceeds that the note seller gets. If you are doing deals the way I teach, you always pay the cost. I believe that when you give a quote to a note seller, they ought to get a wire for that amount, okay? And so this amount here should be the exact amount that is on the note purchase agreement. The only thing that should be deducted is if they happen to collect a payment that was supposed to go to you. Other than that, they get exactly what you promised to pay them, okay? Now, this is the second settlement statement from you to Ivan, okay? So notice, Ivan bought this note for $95,000. Out of his monies, we covered all of the costs, and so now we've got net proceeds to you, okay? And this shows, and so let's recap here, okay? You sold the note to Ivan for $95,000. You bought the note from Sally for $80,475. So your gross profit is $14,525, less your expenses, and your net profit on the deal is $13,456. Pretty sweet, isn't it? So that's how you do your due diligence, and that's how you close a deal. I hope that was informative for you. And again, I just want to reiterate that as long as you use the deal checklist, it's just step by step by step, bam, 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 bam. And next thing you know, you're walking away. Well, you're not walking away. You're going to find $13,456 in your bank account. If you were doing this, and this was a real deal that we did, and one of my students brought this, and so I split that with the student, okay? So the initial amount comes to me, and then I wire the student's portion to them, okay? And that's how easy it is to do the due diligence for your seller carryback deals. Okay, I want to take a minute. Have you signed up for the Note Buyers Academy?
Hey, Donna, one sec.
What's that?
Your internet dropped out for a second. We got disconnected on any desk. I sent you another prompt there.
All righty.
There we go. Cool.
Okay. Were we still, was everything okay with the webinar? Were we?
Yeah, it dropped out for just a little bit, a few seconds.
Okay, cool. Alrighty, if you will bring up the Academy webpage, I want to tell everybody I'm so excited about this year's Academy. It's coming up September 19th through the 22nd. And if you are not familiar with this, you got to check it out. I only do them once a year, and I have them typically in September. They are always in Covington, Kentucky, which is right across the river from Cincinnati. It's very close to the Greater Cincinnati, Kentucky Airport, known as CVG. So it's just like 15 minutes away or so. And we hold it at the Radisson, okay? Are we able to move that over on the other screen by any chance?
This screen is being shared here.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so it is held at the Radisson, which is a very iconic hotel. And it's a round hotel, and it has a revolving restaurant at the top. I will share a little secret with you. I went to my senior prom to dinner for my senior prom at this restaurant, but I promise you, it's been remodeled since then. But it's 4 days of live training with me, and let me just go over a few of the things here that you'll learn from this. It truly is the most comprehensive note training that you will find anywhere. I mean, people totally rave about it. In fact, if you scroll down, if you go to this page on our website, it's thenotebuyer.com, and then click on Academy, there I've got some video testimonials of people who have come, and they totally rave about it. And they say that they've been to, every other guru's boot camps and stuff like that, and never have they received so much information. Okay. Here's a sample class. I try to keep it intimate. It's not a huge 200 people in a classroom or anything like that. So it makes it nice because there's time for questions. We can go over lots of things. Mainly, I focus on how to make quick cash, how to build a financial legacy, and the majority of the time is spent on performing notes. However, I do spend most of Saturday on non-performing notes, and how you can use non-performing notes to acquire properties really cheap, or you can modify them and get super, super high rates of return. Okay. Here's just a list of some of the things you're going to learn. How you can put money in your pocket in the next 30 to 60 days, and you don't even need your own cash or credit. How you can acquire properties at huge discounts with none of your own cash or credit. This I love, how you can take your IRA from $100 to $50,000 or more without even making a contribution. And that's with one deal. You do one deal over and over and over and over again, and you can grow that IRA from $100 to over $1 million in no time at all. I teach you how to build your own personal portfolio of notes, how to create monthly cash flow for years to come, how you can use seller finance notes so that you can buy and sell properties really quick. If you are a flipper or a rehabber, my goodness, if you don't know how to do notes, you need to come to the Note Buyers Academy. It will help you so much in increasing your profits on your deals as well as closing more deals. Okay, I teach you, like, one of my favorite strategies is to buy the seller carryback notes at a discount. And then I teach you how to get an early payoff on them. And guess what? Your rate of return, if I tell you what it'll go to, you'll say it's too good to be true. And it really is true. These are real deals. You can get returns of 70, 80, 90% simply by negotiating an early payoff if you have bought that seller carryback at a discount. It's totally awesome. It's the simplest, most powerful strategy. And I go through all of these things. I teach you how to find more notes than you can handle. I teach you how to negotiate with the note sellers, how to get more deals under contract. We do role playing. We do examples. We're going to break into teams, and you'll be able to analyze deals together and just compare notes. And it's not just about the learning. It's also a great place to network. People that go to the academy, they make friends for many years to come. They make they network with people. Maybe one person has a contact that buys mobile home paper. Somebody else has a great contact for commercial paper. And so they stay in contact with one another, and they help each other to close more deals. Right now, we've got our early bird special going on. Normally, the price for the academy is $2,497, but our early bird savings is take $500 off of that. So you can come for just $1,997, okay, with our early bird special. That is for 4 full days of training. This is not a dog and pony show with a bunch of speakers coming in. This is me teaching you, okay? The other thing is I supply all of the meals, okay? I hate going to an event, and then at lunchtime, everybody's running around, you're trying to find a restaurant, the lines are too long, and you get back late, and you miss half of the afternoon session. So what we do is we have a continental breakfast in the morning in the room, and then for lunch and dinner, we go up to one of the high floors, the 16th or the 18th floor, and we have a really nice buffet dinner up there. And it's just an awesome place where you can network and get to know everybody there. You can enjoy the view, the atmosphere, the food. It's it's an experience, okay? I think that's the best way to describe it. And then to top the whole thing off, on Saturday night, I take you on a riverboat cruise. I book a cruise with a dinner cruise with B&B Riverboats. We go up the river for about an hour and a half. It's a great surf and turf kind of thing, dinner. And then we go upriver, turn around and come back. By the time we come back, it's nighttime and you can see all the lights of Cincinnati, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. And it's really a great time after you've been in classes for 3 days. It's just really awesome to get out in the fresh air and enjoy each other's company and kick back and have some fun and relax. Okay. I also want to mention that I am including in your tuition for the Note Buyers Academy, I'm including the media set so that you can get prepared for the academy before you get there. Because people tell me that, I mean, people come back 3, 4, 5 times. I'm not kidding. And they tell me that the more they come, every time they learn something new. So I thought I'd help you get a jump start, and you can start with last year's media set and go through that so that as you're learning this year, and of course it is going to be different because we use different examples, and I always try to pull in what's happening currently in the marketplace. I share some real deals that I'm doing right now, that kind of thing. So each one is different and better than the one before. But I think you would really enjoy the media set even next month before you come. Here are the testimonials. I'm not going to play them now, but feel free to go and check out the videos that people have left here. Oh, here's some great pictures. I do have Alan Cowgill coming to speak. He speaks on Friday evening, and he teaches you how to get private money to buy notes. And I have found that his private lending strategies fit hand in hand with my note buying strategies. So he will be there. My son, Ben Bauer, who is a real estate attorney, he will be there. People love to hear him talk about using asset protection and then various strategies using trusts and different things for buying and selling properties and notes. Here's a picture of us up on the 16th floor, and we're just networking and enjoying the food. You can see this is not just some box lunch. This is a full course meal. Really nice, nice meal. Here we are. This is the whole group on the Saturday night riverboat cruise. Okay. Oh, and by the way, you can bring your partner, your business partner or life partner for just $600 extra. And really, that's just to cover the cost of the food. Okay, that's my expense for each person to come, my real out-of-pocket costs to hold the event. So if you will just cover that cost, you can bring your partner. So that's us. And I hope you will consider coming. You know, I've gotten a lot of people who they actually got my course 4 or 5 years ago, and then they got sidetracked and they did other things, and they realized that now is a great time to be doing the notes. And so they're coming back again. You know, some of them are coming for the first time, others are coming back again to the academy. So maybe that's you. Maybe you need to dust off your Note Buyer's Master Guide and sign up for the academy and plan on coming. I promise you that you will get a boatload of information that will really, really jumpstart your note buying. Okay, you'll learn where to find the deals. You know, where's the best place to find them. You'll learn. What happens is when you spend 4 days just full-time note buying, talking, eating, sleeping, drinking, practically note buying, when you leave there on Monday, you feel like you're an expert at it. And so it really does help to propel you to success. So I hope you will consider it, and I hope you're able to clear your schedule and plan on coming. I would love to see you there. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you haven't already checked out the other 3 series of our essential note buying strategies, be sure and do that as well. And until next month, God bless and take care.